Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker here with just a quick introduction of making or drinking matcha. So I've got my water, I've got some equipment here, so I'm going to be talking about this tea. And basically with matcha there are two main styles. There is the usucha, which is more of a frothy, thinner matcha drink. Then there's the koicha, which is a thicker, heavier. And to do that, I've got some equipment here. I'm just going to kind of walk through and make a little bit of both, if I can squeeze them both in. One thing you're going to want to do is, if your water's been brought to a boil, because matcha can be more of a precise activity, you may want to have your water brought to a boil, and then there's a cooling aspect that's involved. So what I've done here is, this is a two cup pitcher, and for my usucha, my lighter, the general recommendation is about 70 milliliters, which on this cup, I did a rough estimate, about the top of the rubber band is for that 70 milliliters, about 2.3 ounces. With the koicha, the thicker, it is about 1.3, which in effect here, actually I'm going to pour just a little bit back, is the bottom of my rubber band marker there. So as you can see, visually it does not look like a lot of difference. While I'm pouring into the bowls here, this helps to warm up the bowls a little bit. I'm going to kind of swirl those around. Because I'm going to be taking a little bit more time and doing two at once, I'm going to pour this back in fairly soon and be able to talk about the other aspects here. So my water, it will cool a little bit, because generally the goal is somewhere between 160 and 180 degrees Fahrenheit, so that water will still be cooling there a little bit. Now you also want to be able to have some equipment. A whisk is often recommended. A scoop, a lot of servings are recommended with scoops, and a sifter is very handy to get out any lumps or clumps in the matcha. So I'm going to start here with my usucha, and I'm going to pour in enough here that I'm actually going to use for an usucha. I'm using about 2 fairly good sized scoops here. This is a nice bamboo scoop, and when choosing a tea, choosing which matcha, you want to read the instructions here. I've got 3 different kinds of matcha. Some of them, like these two, indicate that they are better suited for usucha, thinner, and the way that it either says it's for usucha, or the instructions talk about that that proportion of maybe 2 scoops for that roughly 1 ounce, build up a frothy texture that is indicating an usucha. So I'm going to get out a little bit of this one here, get out about 2 scoops and sift them. That's 1. And there's 2, so set that there. And I'm going to sift that because, just like with flour or anything else, that's going to dissolve more smoothly. It's going to mix better in my bowl here. Now on my left side here, I am using a more traditional matcha style bowl, but I thought for the usucha, because in order to see the froth and to see the whisking action, a clear bowl is what I'm going to be using. It's not the traditional, it's not the recommended, but for our purposes here, it is going to be just fine. Just kind of scoop some of that back in. It's stuck to the side there. Pat that little bit out. I don't want to force it through, because some of those, there may be just a little bit of something in there. If you have a lower grade matcha, you can notice that little bits of filaments of vein or other will come through. Now, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go ahead and get the other one ready as well. Now again, I want 4, because this koicha is going to be a thicker, heavier, almost syrupy type, thick honey type texture to it. So I'm going to use about 4. So I'm going to get this matcha out here. This is from Do Matcha. The others I have from Aya and from Matcha Source. So there's 1. I want some good size, so let me make sure I scoop out enough here. So that's 2. That's 3. And there we go with 4. Now, you may not, if you don't like those rules, if you find that one of them is too weak or too strong, you want to find that middle ground that suits you. But I'm going to sift here. Another thing that I read, I'm doing just fine as far as sifting with this one right now, but when it gets down to the bottom, that's where the clumps kind of resist. So one thing that I read or suggested, so I'm going to try it here, is to find a nice smooth, like a river stone. You want it to be clean and dry, but you can place that in your sifter to kind of polish out those clumps there. So I've got my nice smooth river stone here, and I'm going to put that in there, and that's going to push those last little bits through, and that did just fine. That got me a nice green powder coated stone, but it got those clumps broken up very quickly and efficiently, so that's nice. Now, I'm going to start over here with my usucha. Let me get this out of the way so I don't spill any water in there. And because I've got a little bit more, I've got some water for both, I'm going to get just a little bit more in here. And I like to do both at the same time, actually, and I'm probably a little bit better suited to whisk with my right hand, so I'm going to slowly pour with my left here. And I'm going to try to let me move this off to the side so that you can see. You want a nice W-shaped whisking action using your wrist. And you want to make sure you break it up around the sides there. I'm already building up some froth, especially around the edges there, so that looks good. Actually, I can add just a wee bit more of that there. That looks good. That looks the right amount. And so what you can see, what you should be able to see, is some froth building up right around the edges there. Looks nice. Now I'm going to go over now to my koicha and start preparing that. Now here, you do not want to, the goal is not to create a froth, but to do circle and plus or cross type shapes, just to kind of break it all, just to dissolve it all, smooth it out, make it a smooth, consistent, again, thicker texture. There we go. Plus shapes, circles, whatever sticks to the sides, sticks to the bottom as well. And hopefully get those last few drops. I'm going to put the last few drops over here. There we go. Just so, and I'm going to show you just in a minute, just so you can see the difference here. So that's looking good. Set my whisk over to the side. Now, the usucha, as you see, and I like this kind of, these bowls are nice and useful as well. If there is some residual that did stick, you can kind of swirl them around, and that gets you what you see there, a thinner. There we go, as you can see. Now, compare that to the thickness here of the koicha. Look how dark, heavy, and thick that is. Again, you see it as it pours there through. Much heavier. So, again, you will want to check which kind of matcha is better suited for which kind of tea, which preference that you like, and if you find that one is too weak or too strong, you want to experiment to find that right place in the middle. It's going to have the right amount of matcha with water. So come back to Walker Tea Review, and go to Walker Tea Review to find out about Japanese teas, Chinese teas, and many other kinds of teas.